the true story of this grandmother. She was forced to kneel before her grandpa's cruelty unfolded. Iracema never forgot the sharp scent of old pine floors beneath her knees, the cold sting of splintered wood pressing against her skin as she knelt, waiting. Her small town in New Jersey hummed with secrets, wrapped tight in shadows cast by her grandfather's booming voice. He was a giant of a man, tall and rigid, his eyes burning with fire that twisted faith into chains. Everyone said he was a devout man, but Iracema knew the truth. His faith was a weapon, sharp and unforgiving. It started with whispers, neighbors stealing glances through cracked curtains, hushed words drifting like smoke. That old preacher's gone too far, but no one dared to speak openly. The town's streets, lined with aging brick houses and flickering street lamps, held their breath, watching. Iracema's heart pounded like a drum every time she heard the heavy thud of his boots coming down the hall. The sound alone made her muscles freeze. She remembers the nights filled with thunder, but not from the skies, from the violent storms inside that house. Her grandfather's voice smashed through the silence, cutting deep and sharp. Commands, curses, prayers twisted into threats. The air shook with his rage as she sank lower on the floor, hands clutching the rough wooden planks, hoping the moment would end without a snap. But it never did. One evening, as the sun bled its last orange over the grim rooftops, the confrontation turned darker. His face twisted with fury, veins standing out like ropes. Suddenly, without warning, he crumpled, a heavy fall that shook the room. Silence slammed in, thick and suffocating. Iracema's breath hitched. Was this a miracle? The end of her nightmare? Her chest tightened, eyes wide as she stared at the still shape on the floor, trembling between relief and a crushing swirl of guilt. The town outside seemed different that night, charged with something unknown. Hope, fear. The lines between them blurred. Her husband, John, gentle and steady, held her hand through the long, quiet hours that followed. A pastor with kind eyes offered words that sounded foreign to her, words about grace, rebirth, and healing. But Iracema wrestled fiercely inside. How do you find faith when it once meant pain? Can you forgive when the wounds still bleed beneath your skin? Just as she began piecing together a new life, flickering light through dark cracks, a sudden, shocking event tore through her fragile peace. Voices rose in anger, and the past's heavy chains seemed to tighten once more. Whispers turned to shouts, and the questions she thought she'd answered came back, louder than ever. Can forgiveness truly heal? Is it even possible to escape shadows that long to drag you back? As the sun sinks again over that small town, Iracema faces the greatest mystery of all, her own heart. Hey, before you continue with this incredible story, I have an important warning for you. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube has removed their subscriptions without warning. Take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content. And while you're there, leave that powerful like. It helps me a lot with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, what city are you watching from? I love meeting all the amazing people who are part of this community. Your participation makes a difference. Let's interact. The sun sank, casting long shadows that danced outside Iracema's window. Her heart still raced from the questions swirling in her mind. Could she really find a way to forgive? Could she ever break free from the ties of her past? But then, just as she began to feel some semblance of peace, a loud crash echoed through the stillness. Iracema's heart leaped into her throat. What was that? She turned sharply, her pulse thrumming in her ears. The noise came from the back of the house, the place where old memories lingered like cobwebs. Without thinking, she rushed toward the sound, dread pooling in her stomach. Each step flickered with fear and hope. What if it was just a branch falling against the window? What if? As she reached the kitchen, the sight before her stopped her cold. It was John, her gentle husband, kneeling on the floor, surrounded by a tangle of broken dishes. But it wasn't the mess that made Iracema's breath catch. It was his face. His usually warm eyes were dark, shadowed, brimming with something that felt raw and unrecognizable. John, she whispered, unsure what to make of the shock etched across his features. He looked up, and the hurt in his gaze cut deeper than the shards of porcelain swirling around him. I wasn't trying to do it. His voice cracked, a tremble of guilt washing over him. I thought I'd pack some things. I needed to tell you something. A chill snaked up Iracema's spine. What's going on? Panic wrapped its fingers around her chest. What do you mean? He hesitated, swallowing hard. Iracema, I didn't want to keep this from you, but... His hands shook, the resolve faltering. Your grandfather, he didn't die from what happened. He wasn't just angry. There was something more. Iracema's heart raced. What are you saying? Waves of confusion crashed in her mind. John's voice lowered, like he was sharing secrets from a dark, hidden place. He's alive. I found him. He's in a hospital. He called me, said he needed someone to help him set things right. The world around her seemed to tilt. What? The word slipped from her lips, a breathless whisper. You must be mistaken. He was gone. Not gone, Iracema. He faked his collapse. I swear I wouldn't lie about this, John insisted, the sincerity in his voice mixing with desperation. He's still manipulating things. He said he would come back to you. Every part of her was reeling. The man who had haunted her childhood nightmares was still alive. The thought made her throat tighten, a lump of fear lodged deep as realities crashed together like thunder. Why would you get involved with him? Why would you talk to him? I did it to protect you. He raised his hands defensively, but the tremor in his voice told another story. But he said things, Iracema, dark things about you, things I can't. Just then, a knock rattled the front door, loud and jarring, breaking their fraught exchange. Iracema's heart leaped again, eyes darting toward the sound. Who could it be at this hour? Don't answer it, John yelled, panic lacing his words. It could be him, but curiosity clawed at her. Who could stand on the other side, waiting in the shadows? Another knock rang out, louder this time, demanding. With a racing heart, Iracema took a step forward, teetering between fear and a burgeoning desire for truth. The door stopped her, yet she could feel the weight of John's gaze, heavy with fear. What if it is him? John breathed, fear clinging to the air like smoke. What if he's come back for you? The thought sent a shudder throughout her body. This was all too much. She gripped the doorknob, ready to confront whatever lay beyond. The haunting specter of her past pushed her forward even as dread filled her. What would she find on the other side? Everything was at stake now. Iracema's heart raced, her breath caught like a fish in a net. The knock echoed again, demanding, and she felt John's grip tighten on her arm. Iracema, please. His voice trembled. The fear in his eyes pleaded with her not to open the door, but curiosity tugged at her. What if it was him? What if it wasn't? In that moment, the world shrank to just the two of them and the door. She turned the doorknob slowly, the old metal cold against her palm. The door creaked open, revealing the dark night outside. And then she saw him. A man stood on the porch, silhouetted against the porch light, but it wasn't her grandfather. This was someone else, someone familiar. Mom! Iracema's breath caught. Her mother, the woman who had vanished years ago without a trace. She looked older, worn. Her eyes shone with desperation. Iracema, she gasped, stepping forward as if to embrace her but stopping short. There was fear mixed with hope in her expression. What are you doing here? Iracema's legs felt weak. You're alive? Please, you need to listen to me. Her mother's voice trembled. It's about your grandfather. He's been lying to you. You don't know the truth. Iracema glanced at John, confusion swirling in her gut. What do you mean? Her mother's eyes darted around, scanning the dimly lit street. We need to go inside. It's not safe out here. John shook his head, anger flashing across his face. You can't be trusted. You disappeared. Why should we believe anything you say? Because he's not the man you think he is. Her mother shot back, her voice rising. You think he's a preacher. He's dangerous. He didn't just fake his collapse. You need to understand. Stop. Iracema howled, her heart racing. Everyone's talking about him like he's a monster, but he's just wrong. Her mother interrupted, stepping closer, fear radiating off her. You don't know what he's capable of. He did terrible things, things I can't even tell you. He didn't want you out of the way. He wanted to keep you as a weapon. Silence stretched between them. As the weight of her mother's words sank in, Iracema felt the air freeze. Memories flashed, the years of fear, the bruises, the breathless nights filled with threats whispered in the dark. What do you mean a weapon? She whispered, voice trembling. Before her mother could answer, a loud crash came from the back of the house, a window shattering and a shout echoed, followed by more crashing sounds. The moment shattered like glass, and Iracema's instincts kicked in. "John!" He turned, panic igniting his features. "Stay here!" But it was too late. Iracema darted toward the noise, a rush of adrenaline pushing her feet forward. With every step, her heart pounded louder, drowning out everything but the primal urge to know what was happening. She burst into the kitchen to find John wrestling with something, or someone, on the floor. Shadows flitted like phantoms through the light. As she stepped closer, John shouted, "Get back!" And then she saw it. A figure, cloaked in darkness, rising from the floor. It was her grandfather, but he was disheveled, wild-eyed, unrecognizable in his rage. "You thought you could escape me," he roared, face twisted in a sickening snarl. Iracema's breath caught in her throat. No, it can't be. But her mother's face registered horror, shock dawning as she stepped into the room. "I thought he was gone. How did he?" Then Iracema's world spun as if the ground was falling away beneath her. The truth hit her with the force of a freight train. "You knew," she gasped, looking from her mother to John and back. "Everything," her mother began, hurt flashing in her eyes. But before she could finish, her grandfather lunged forward, chaos spilling into the room. In a heartbeat, everything changed. Iracema stood frozen between the people she cared about, the truth of her past slamming into her chest. "What am I even doing here?" The room split open in a storm of accusations and fears. Iracema felt the ground shift beneath her, the air thick and charged with danger. She was no longer just a victim. She was part of something much larger, and the danger was closing in fast. With a heartbeat throbbing in her ears, she wondered how it had all spiraled so far. What lay ahead was uncertain, and the stakes were rising with every breath she took. The secrets of her family twisted into a night she could never have foreseen, and Iracema knew she had to choose who to trust. As the chaos swirled around her, one question trembled on the tip of her tongue. What was the real truth, and would she survive to uncover it? Iracema stood frozen, her heart racing as the chaos unfolded around her. John and her grandfather grappled, fury and fear erupting like a storm. Her mother's frantic gaze darted between them, the air thick with unspoken truths. Iracema felt her entire world teetering on the edge, a chasm ready to swallow her whole. "Get away from him," she shouted, her voice bouncing off the walls, desperate to intervene. In that moment, she was both terrified and furious. "This needs to stop." But in an instant, everything changed. As John grappled with the writhing figure, he stumbled back, and in that fraction of a second, Iracema's grandfather lunged forward, knocking over a chair that splintered under the weight. The moment turned electric, and then a sickening crack reverberated through the room. Iracema's breath caught, eyes wide, heart racing. Was that a bone? "John!" she gasped, but confusion paralyzed her voice. Her grandfather grinned, triumphant, the madness in his eyes burning brighter. "You're all so naive," he thundered, his voice echoing off the kitchen walls. "You think you can escape this. You think you can run from me." But it was John who spoke next, a groan escaping him as he pressed a shaking hand to his side. Just then, a flicker of light caught Iracema's eye, spotlighting the truth of what lay behind him. A glint of metal, sharp and unyielding, reflected the dim light. "Not again," John choked, pain etched into his features. Iracema's heart dropped. He had fallen, and just behind him, her grandfather's hand held the knife, slick and shining. In that instant, everything she believed shattered like glass. Still alive, the realization hit her hard. "You're the monster, not him. Monster," he laughed, a chilling sound. "You've barely scratched the surface, child. This wasn't just about me faking my collapse." His smile turned sinister. "You are my legacy. I made you what you are. You think you can walk away." Suddenly, another loud crash echoed through the house, this time from the front door. Iracema whipped around as the door blasted open. A figure stormed in, silhouetted against the light. It was a man, tall and imposing. "Get away from her," he shouted, but as he stepped fully into view, Iracema's heart sank. It was the town sheriff, a man who had held her hand in childhood and promised to protect her. Only now, he seemed frantic, eyes wide with panic. "What are you doing here?" John gasped. "Too late for that." The sheriff fired back, his voice strained. "I know what he's done. I tried. But before he could continue, her grandfather, wild and unhinged, lunged. The sheriff was forced to dodge, but as he stumbled, a flicker of light caught Iracema's eye again. A flicker of something within her grandfather's pocket. She had seen it before, images flashing through her mind. "Stop!" she screamed, her voice cracking. "What did you hide from us?" Her grandfather's grin widened. "Oh, the truth has a funny way of hiding in plain sight, doesn't it?" The reality crashed in. Iracema's mother stepped forward, fists clenched, eyes burning. "You were supposed to be dead. We thought we buried the truth." As the pieces fell into place, a horrifying thought gripped her chest. "What do you mean?" But before anyone could answer, the lights flickered, plunging the room into darkness. Then came the buzz of a phone ringing, echoing through the silence. 1,000 hearts stopped. Whose phone was it? The noise grew louder, pulling their gaze. Iracema's gut twisted as her own phone vibrated in her pocket, illuminating her face. "Liar!" her grandfather shouted, lunging toward her. As they struggled, the phone slipped from her fingers, crashing onto the ground, the screen cracking as it lit up. The caller ID flashed. Unknown. The moment froze in time as everyone held their breath. What would they hear? What would be revealed? In that heartbeat of stillness, the truth screamed louder than anything. The world fell away. As Iracema realized, she didn't know who to trust anymore. The question echoed in her mind, burning like fire. What secrets had her grandfather buried? And who had called? As the phone vibrated on the floor, the tension in the room thickened like fog. Iracema could barely breathe, her heart pounding wildly as all eyes turned toward the lit screen. The name flashed. Unknown. What if it's him? John's voice cracked with fear, his eyes darting between the phone and her grandfather, who looked furious, mouth twisted into a snarl. Her grandfather moved like lightning, lunging toward the phone. "Stop!" Iracema screamed, but it was too late. A shot echoed through the kitchen, loud and shocking. The world went silent. Iracema blinked, processing the scene. John staggered back, staring wide-eyed at his own chest, a trickle of crimson spreading across his shirt. It didn't register at first. Shock held her in place. "John," she gasped, hands flying to her mouth. She could barely form the words as the horror settled in. What just happened? The sheriff fell to his knees, a look of utter disbelief plastered across his face. It wasn't supposed to be like this. He shouted, scrambling toward John. But Iracema couldn't tear her gaze from her grandfather, who stood grinning, knife gleaming like a jagged star in his hand. "Foolish children," he sneered, reveling in the chaos, his voice unsettlingly calm. "You thought you could protect each other. You thought the truth wouldn't come out." Everything was spinning. The air grew thick with tension, each heartbeat echoing like a drum. She wanted to scream, but what words could she find that would make sense of this? She looked to her mother, who was frozen in place, eyes wide with horror. And then the phone rang again, an eerie, melodic chime cutting through the chaos. Every head turned as they listened, entranced as the familiar voice poured through the speaker, smooth and comforting. "Hello, sweetheart," said her mother's voice from the phone. Iracema's blood ran cold. "Mom," she whispered, "is that you?" "Turn it off," her grandfather shouted. "Don't listen to her." Panic flooded Iracema as she hurried to pick up the phone, hands trembling. "What's happening?" She cried into the device, but her mother's voice continued, soft and unbothered by the turmoil around her. "Stay calm, Iracema. They have lied to you. Your grandfather thinks he controls everything, but he doesn't. He's not who you think he is. What do you mean?" Iracema's mind raced. "You left, you went away. I had to hide," her mother explained, urgency threading her words. "It's about the family. You're in more danger than you realize, Iracema. There's more to learn, and the truth is darker than you know." Before she could respond, her grandfather lunged toward her, trying to snatch the phone. "No, don't listen to her." His voice was a wild howl, but she held firm, heart racing as she struggled against his grasp. "Mom, please help me." Iracema pleaded, fear creeping into her voice. "Find the truth, Iracema. Don't trust him. We thought we buried it, but it's alive." The connection crackled, words fading in and out. Then everything exploded. The front door slammed open again, this time crashing against the wall, and multiple figures poured into the kitchen, townsfolk, friends, even strangers with grim faces. They were armed and determined, scattering through the scene like a whirlwind, yelling warnings, moving to protect. Iracema's mind reeled. She turned to see her grandfather backed into a corner, panic now stretching the corners of his mouth. "This isn't how it's supposed to be," he screamed, eyes wild. But in that chaos, time slowed and one undeniable truth settled over everything. Everyone in the room was connected by strings of past mistakes, buried secrets, and the terror of what yet lay unspoken. As the sounds of sirens approached and chaos erupted, Iracema could only think one thing. What was happening here? What truth was the world about to unveil? Who could she trust now? Because the line between good and evil felt blurred, twisting back into the shadows she thought she knew. The kitchen felt thick with tension as Iracema stood frozen, her heart hammering. John was gasping, blood oozing from the wound on his side, while her grandfather's wide grin twisted the fabric of reality. The sheriff dropped to the floor beside John, but all Iracema could think about was that flickering screen. Suddenly, the lights flickered back on as another crash sounded from the back of the house. A shadow darted by the kitchen doorway, flickering against the wall. Her breath hitched. What was happening? "Mom," she shouted, eyes darting to her mother who was still standing in the doorway, eyes fixed on everything but her. "Get back!" her grandfather bellowed, and as if summoned by his rage, the air shifted. The room whipped into a fury of movement, people scrambling, shouting, and a cacophony of confusion erupted around her. Then came the sound of breaking glass again, sharper and closer this time. A figure leaped over the kitchen counter, and as he rushed through the chaos, Iracema's stomach dropped. It was Jacob, the neighbor boy from down the street, who had always been a little off, always with a wild glimmer in his eye. But tonight, he was different, face smeared with dirt, clothes torn. He held something shiny in his hand, and his eyes danced with manic energy. "Stay back!" Jacob shouted as he brandished a knife, eyes wild with fear. "I know what he did, I know everything." "What are you talking about?" Iracema yelled, her heart racing. The world seemed to spin. "Your grandfather, he's never been a preacher. He's a—" But before he could finish, her grandfather lunged at Jacob, knocking the knife from his hand and sending it clattering against the floor. The commotion teetered as all eyes turned toward the knife, silence crashing down like thunder. In that heartbeat of stillness, Jacob's scream filled the room. "You don't understand. He's been lying to you. He's been using you." Iracema's chest tightened. "Using me? What do you mean?" Just as the panic bubbled over, something even more shocking happened. The sheriff, pinned next to John, suddenly grabbed Iracema's arm, his expression shifting from fear to something darker. "Iracema, listen." He pulled her close, whispering hurriedly, "Your mother and I, we only kept the truth from you to protect you. Your grandfather isn't just dangerous." The revelation weighed heavily in the air, time suspended as Iracema tried to process his words. "What truth?" Before the sheriff could answer, a loud bang resonated from somewhere else in the house. The front door had burst open again. The focus shifted as Iracema's heart lurched. A woman stepped through, breathless, eyes wide, frantically scanning the room. "Stop this, please." It was Clara, her childhood friend, a girl who had gone missing years ago. "You have to run, they're coming." "Who's coming?" Iracema shouted, but the ground beneath her felt unstable. The very thread of her reality began to unravel. Clara's face was drawn, fear painted across her features. "Your grandfather summoned them, to take you away." Iracema's breath hitched in her throat. "Take me? Why? I don't understand." Before she could comprehend more, a gust of wind swept through the room, carrying a chilling whisper that sounded almost like a chant. Shadows spiraled around the edges, and a collective shiver ran through the crowd. And just like that, everything spiraled again. Looming figures emerged outside the windows. They were family members Iracema had never met, faces twisted in agony and rage. "He is the key," one yelled, voice booming, anger ricocheting against the walls. "He can't hide what he's done." In that moment, the truth shattered whatever remained of normalcy. "He's been sacrificing you," Jacob shouted, his voice mixing with the frantic chaos. "You are bound to him by blood and pain." Iracema could hardly breathe. What had she been a part of? The walls felt like they were closing in, and sharp, jangling panic surged within her. How could this be her life now? Who was the real enemy? As she stood there, rooted by fear and confusion, she glanced at each face around her, layers of lies laid bare. Who could she turn to? Questions blurred as she realized one thing. The truth behind her grandfather's mantra was far darker than she'd ever imagined. With every heartbeat, the shadows loomed larger. Dread pulsed in the air, entwined with urgency. The choice lay heavy on her shoulders. Obey the truth enveloping her, or risk losing everything she had just begun to reclaim. What was real anymore? And what face would she meet if she confronted the past? Iracema stood there, the weight of revelations hanging heavy in the air. Her heart raced as she scanned the faces around her, shadows flickering across the walls. What had been hidden so long suddenly lay bare, a web of lies, of secrets that twisted deeper than any of them could have imagined. Not the man you think he is. Her grandfather's voice echoed, gaining strength as he took a step forward, challenging her mother with sheer ferocity. You're all fools. The truth is more dangerous than you realize. That's enough, Iracema yelled, her voice breaking through the chaos. She felt the panic rising like bile in her throat. What truth? What did you do? She turned to her mother, searching for answers. Why did you leave us? Her mother's expression darkened, the lines around her eyes tightening. It's not about what I did, Iracema. It's about what he's done. What we all thought we buried. He's been playing a game for years, and you were the key. What game? It was overwhelming, the emotions swirling like a storm. Iracema felt a floodgate of memories burst open, whispers in the dark, shivers of fear seeping through every confrontation. Then, with terrifying suddenness, the door burst open once more, and a tall figure stepped inside, drenched in shadows. It was a stranger, wild hair, eyes darting as if searching for something lost. "Get out of the way!" he shouted, voice gritty. He surveyed the room, breathless panic danced in his gaze. "What do you want?" John yelled, still reeling from the wound, clutching his side as he staggered. Iracema fought off fresh waves of fear. What was happening? The man locked eyes with her, his expression softening, a look of recognition. "Iracema, it's me, David." Every piece of her shattered. David, the friend she lost, the boy who vanished from her life like a ghost, the whispers of a past she couldn't claim. What are you doing here? But even as she spoke, she sensed it, an undercurrent, a shift in the air. David's eyes flickered, a look of urgency mixed with a spark of something darker. "I couldn't stay away. I found out the truth. And it's worse than we thought." Before anyone could react, he lunged forward, catching her hand. "We have to go now." Iracema felt a swell of confusion. "What do you mean? Your grandfather, when he collapsed, it wasn't a heart attack. He was orchestrating something." David's voice trembled as he pulled her toward the door, desperation in every word. "He's not just a preacher, he's the leader of something. Something unnatural." The ground felt like it was shifting beneath her. The room spiraled as she looked back at the chaos, at her grandfather's rage, her mother's fear. "What did you witness?" Her mother shouted, moving closer, eyes wide. But David shook his head, urgency spilling out. "It's not safe. They'll be looking for you. They need you to finish what he started." Iracema's heart raced, confusion and fear twisting tighter. "What do you mean, what started?" Then the sound of sirens filled the air, the shriek cutting sharply like glass through the thick tension. They all froze, collective breaths caught in throats. Her grandfather's eyes darkened. "No," he growled, a shift in the air as realization dawned on him. He looked at Iracema, his gaze piercing. "You need to understand." But in that moment, David yanked her back, pulling her closer. "We can't stay. They'll come for you. Just trust me." Before she could respond, everything erupted. The front door splintered open once more, figures flooding through, none of them friends, none of them good. Officers stormed in, lights flaring like angry suns, shouts echoing, confusion swirling, each shout turned to chaos. "Hands in the air! Move!" And just like that, everything changed again. Iracema felt the world cave in, relationships shattered in the blink of an eye. What was the real danger? Who could she trust? Amidst the chaos, thoughts whirled in her mind. The truth about her grandfather, the danger now closing in, everything she thought she knew began to fray at the edges. Who was David, really? And what dark secrets were still lurking in the shadows? As the smoke of confusion cleared, one question pulsed through her mind with terrifying clarity. Whose side was he on? Iracema stood there, the weight of revelations hanging heavy in the air. Her heart raced as she scanned the faces around her, shadows flickering across the walls. What had been hidden so long suddenly lay bare, a web of lies, of secrets that twisted deeper than any of them could have imagined. Not the man you think he is. Her grandfather's voice echoed, gaining strength as he took a step forward, challenging her mother with sheer ferocity. You're all fools. The truth is more dangerous than you realize. That's enough. Iracema yelled, her voice breaking through the chaos. She felt the panic rising like bile in her throat. What truth? What did you do? She turned to her mother, searching for answers. Why did you leave us? Her mother's expression darkened, the lines around her eyes tightening. It's not about what I did, Iracema. It's about what he's done. What we all thought we buried. He's been playing a game for years, and you were the key. What game? It was overwhelming, the emotions swirling like a storm. Iracema felt a floodgate of memories burst open, whispers in the dark, shivers of fear seeping through every confrontation. Then, with terrifying suddenness, the door burst open once more, and a tall figure stepped inside, drenched in shadows. It was a stranger, wild hair, eyes darting as if searching for something lost. Get out of the way, he shouted, voice gritty. He surveyed the room, breathless panic danced in his gaze. What do you want? John yelled, still reeling from the wound, clutching his side as he staggered. Iracema fought off fresh waves of fear. What was happening? The man locked eyes with her, his expression softening, a look of recognition. Iracema, it's me, David. Every piece of her shattered. David, the friend she lost, the boy who vanished from her life like a ghost, the whispers of a past she couldn't claim. What are you doing here? But even as she spoke, she sensed it, an undercurrent, a shift in the air. David's eyes flickered, a look of urgency mixed with a spark of something darker. I couldn't stay away. I found out the truth, and it's worse than we thought. Before anyone could react, he lunged forward, catching her hand. We have to go now. Iracema felt a swell of confusion. What do you mean? Your grandfather. When he collapsed, it wasn't a heart attack. He was orchestrating something. David's voice trembled as he pulled her toward the door, desperation in every word. He's not just a preacher, he's the leader of something. Something unnatural. The ground felt like it was shifting beneath her. The room spiraled as she looked back at the chaos, at her grandfather's rage, her mother's fear. What did you witness? Her mother shouted, moving closer, eyes wide. But David shook his head, urgency spilling out. It's not safe. They'll be looking for you. They need you to finish what he started. Iracema's heart raced, confusion and fear twisting tighter. What do you mean? What started? Then, the sound of sirens filled the air, the shriek cutting sharply like glass through the thick tension. They all froze, collective breaths caught in throats. Her grandfather's eyes darkened. No, he growled, a shift in the air as realization dawned on him. He looked at Iracema, his gaze piercing. You need to understand. But in that moment, David yanked her back, pulling her closer. We can't stay. They'll come for you, just trust me. Before she could respond, everything erupted. The front door splintered open again, figures flooding through, none of them friends, none of them good. Officers stormed in, lights flaring like angry suns, shouts echoing, confusion swirling, each shout turned to chaos. Hands in the air. Move. And just like that, everything changed. Iracema felt the world cave in, relationships shattered in the blink of an eye. What was the real danger? Who could she trust? Amidst the chaos, thoughts whirled in her mind. The truth about her grandfather, the danger now closing in, everything she thought she knew began to fray at the edges. Who was David, really? And what dark secrets were still lurking in the shadows? As the smoke of confusion cleared, one unexpected figure stepped forward from the chaotic group of officers. It was a woman, familiar yet unknown, her face lined with age and determination. Stop! Wait! She yelled, her voice slicing through the noise. Iracema's pulse quickened as recognition jolted through her. Mom, is that you? Her mother turned, eyes wide in disbelief, and for a heartbeat, the chaos fell silent. What? She whispered, shock draping her voice like a shroud. The woman took a step closer. I've been searching for you, Iracema. I'm here to explain everything. Iracema blinked, a whirlwind of questions flooding her mind. You You left, you disappeared. Not by choice. The woman's voice cracked. I had to protect you from your grandfather to hide. Her words rushed ahead, desperate and intense. There were reasons we had to keep the truth from you. Iracema's world began to tilt, her heart racing. What truth? What have you kept from me? Before the woman could answer, David shouted, urgency filling every syllable. It's changing, Iracema. Everything is shifting. And then it hit her, a blinding realization that twisted her gut. The connection between them all was deeper than blood. There were layers of betrayal and pain woven through their history, secrets waiting to explode. Mom, who are you? What have you been hiding? She pressed, desperation clawing at her. Fear and confusion mixed together, spinning her world into a dizzying vortex. I was never just your mother, the woman finally said, her voice breaking as she gripped Iracema's hand tight. Believe me when I say we're not safe here. This goes beyond your grandfather. There are forces at play, and you are at the center. We have to leave now. The room spun into chaos, the truth unraveling, revealing dark and terrifying connections. Iracema felt like she was being pulled in every direction at once. The sirens wailed outside, shadows creeping closer, and she struggled to keep a grasp on who she could trust and what reality really meant. With raw emotions swirling like a storm, a new question echoed in her mind. What had her life really been? A preparation for something she didn't even understand. The walls seemed to close in as she was left standing at the edge of revelation, brimming with fear and uncertainty. Would she dare to uncover the truth, or was it too late to turn back? Iracema stood there, the weight of revelations hanging heavy in the air. Her heart raced as she scanned the faces around her, shadows flickering across the walls. What had been hidden so long suddenly lay bare, a web of lies, of secrets that twisted deeper than any of them could have imagined. Not the man you think he is. Her grandfather's voice echoed, gaining strength as he took a step forward, challenging her mother with sheer ferocity. You're all fools. The truth is more dangerous than you realize. That's enough, Iracema yelled, her voice breaking through the chaos. Panic surged within her like a tidal wave. What truth? What did you do? She turned to her mother, searching for answers. Why did you leave us? Her mother's expression darkened, the lines around her eyes tightening. It's not about what I did, Iracema. It's about what he's done. What we all thought we buried. He's been playing a game for years, and you were the key. What game? It was overwhelming, emotions swirling like a storm. Iracema felt a floodgate of memories burst open, whispers in the dark, shivers of fear seeping through every confrontation. Then, with terrifying suddenness, the door burst open once more, and a tall figure stepped inside, drenched in shadows. It was a stranger, wild hair, eyes darting as if searching for something lost. Get out of the way, he shouted, voice gritty. He surveyed the room, breathless, panic danced in his gaze. What do you want? John yelled, still reeling from the wound, clutching his side as he staggered. Iracema fought off fresh waves of fear. What was happening? The man locked eyes with her, his expression softening, a look of recognition. Iracema, it's me, David. Every piece of her shattered. David. The friend she lost, the boy who vanished from her life like a ghost, the whispers of a past she couldn't claim. What are you doing here? But even as she spoke, she sensed it, an undercurrent, a shift in the air. David's eyes flickered, a look of urgency mixed with a spark of something darker. I couldn't stay away. I found out the truth, and it's worse than we thought. Before anyone could react, he lunged forward, catching her hand. We have to go now. Iracema felt a swell of confusion. What do you mean? Your grandfather, when he collapsed, it wasn't a heart attack. He was orchestrating something. David's voice trembled as he pulled her toward the door, desperation in every word. He's not just a preacher, he's the leader of something unnatural. The ground felt like it was shifting beneath her. The room spiraled as she looked back at the chaos, at her grandfather's rage, her mother's fear. What did you witness? Her mother shouted, moving closer, eyes wide. But David shook his head, urgency spilling out. It's not safe. They'll be looking for you. They need you to finish what he started. Iracema's heart raced, confusion and fear twisting tighter. What do you mean? What started? Then, the sound of sirens filled the air, the shriek cutting sharply like glass through the thick tension. They all froze, collective breaths caught in throats. Her grandfather's eyes darkened. "No," he growled, a shift in the air as realization dawned on him. He looked at Iracema, his gaze piercing. "You need to understand." But in that moment, David yanked her back, pulling her closer. "We can't stay. They'll come for you, just trust me." Before she could respond, everything erupted. The front door splintered open again, figures flooding through, none of them friends, none of them good. Officers stormed in, lights flaring like angry suns, shouts echoing, confusion swirling, each shout turned to chaos. "Hands in the air! Move!" And just like that, everything changed. Iracema felt the world cave in, relationships shattered in the blink of an eye. What was the real danger? Who could she trust? Amidst the chaos, thoughts whirled in her mind. The truth about her grandfather, the danger now closing in, everything she thought she knew began to fray at the edges. Who was David, really? And what dark secrets were still lurking in the shadows? Then, through the roaring sirens and cacophony, Iracema caught a glimpse of movement from the back of the kitchen. A figure stumbled into view, pale and limping, someone familiar yet distorted. Iracema squinted and her breath hitched. "Dad." She breathed, unable to believe her eyes. The man she thought had left forever appeared weak, eyes sunken but burning bright as they locked onto hers. You're alive." "Iracema." He stumbled closer, looking around as if he were seeking refuge in her, desperate for understanding. "I'm here to get you out of this. It's worse than you think. We're all in danger." Her heart raced, but the whirlwind of questions spun faster. "You disappeared. Why are you here now? What do you mean?" Before he could reply, a loud crash echoed again, and the energy shifted like a sudden gust of wind. In a rush, the officers moved to secure the scene, but her grandfather stepped forward, sneering. "You foolish boy, you're too late. You can't take her." In an instant, everything erupted into chaos. The air crackled as her father dove to defend Iracema. But just then, her grandfather pulled a hidden object from his coat, a gleaming piece of metal, in front of everyone. "What are you doing?" Iracema screamed, confusion mixing with terror. Then the shocking truth pierced through the tension like a knife. "I was never really gone, Iracema. You're part of this, you always have been. We are bound by blood and power." Gasps echoed around the room, whispers of disbelief mingling with shock. The scene froze, weighty silence overwhelming the chaos. "No, it can't be true." But the look on her father's face, torn between affection and dread, made her heart race faster. She stepped back, shaking her head as her grandfather moved closer, a twisted smile playing on his lips. Iracema felt her stomach drop. "What does that mean?" she whispered, her world spinning. Her grandfather responded, voice dripping with malice. "You are the answer to everything. You are the key to what has been hidden, and I will not let you escape." And just like that, Iracema felt the walls of her reality crumble. Everything she thought she knew faded into darkness. Who am I? Questions swirled like a storm within her. The truth loomed larger than life, cloaked in shadows and chaos. As she stood at the center of it all, the figure of power against the rising storm, one question echoed louder. What was her grandfather truly planning, and what was her role in it? As the chaos erupted around her, Iracema's heart raced. Her grandfather's eyes darkened with a mixture of rage and desperation. "You think you can just walk away?" He barked, his voice slicing through the turmoil like a knife. "No." Iracema's voice rang out, trembling with defiance. "I won't let you control me anymore." The room was electric, filled with shouts and confusion. David pulled her back, urgency flashing across his face. "We have to leave, now, not without the truth." Iracema shot back, feeling the weight of her mother's presence, steady yet strained beside her. "If I'm part of this, I deserve to know." Her grandfather sneered, a manic glint sparking in his eyes. "You think you're strong enough? You're just a pawn in a game you don't understand." But Iracema felt something shift within her. The fear that had wrapped around her heart was loosening, replaced by a fierce determination. "I know more than you think." Just then, John staggered to his feet despite the blood oozing from his wound. "Iracema, you can't trust him." He grabbed her arm, his grip tight and urgent. "It's all lies. I know," she replied, the truth rippling through her like a wave. "But I need to hear it from him." Her grandfather let out a contemptuous laugh. You think one conversation will change anything. You belong to darkness, Iracema. You always have. No, her mother shouted, stepping forward, arms wide as if to shield her daughter. We are not bound by his darkness. Iracema, listen to me. Your father and I— The sirens outside were growing louder, the world beyond the walls closing in. Iracema felt the weight of her family, her mother, her father, each holding secrets, each guarding fragments of her identity. Speak, Iracema cried, her voice desperate, raw. Tell me everything. It's about choice, her father finally said, voice steady. Your grandfather wanted power. He believed you were the key to something dark, something much larger than this town. Iracema shivered at the implication, her mind racing. What did he want from me? Control, her mother said, fighting tears. And he won't stop until he gets it. In that moment, everything hung in the balance. The door rattled with urgency as officers moved in, a flood of authority. They were shouting, but their words were lost in the pounding of her heart. Get down! Someone yelled. David pulled Iracema to the ground just as her grandfather lunged, pushing through the chaos, his knife gleaming dangerously. I won't let them take you. In the blink of an eye, the scene changed. Her father seized her grandfather's arm, twisting it with determination. Enough! Amidst the struggle, Iracema's resolve crystallized. I am not your pawn. With every ounce of strength, she pushed herself up. I choose my own fate. Her voice rang out, a declaration louder than the chaos around her. In that moment, everything paused as eyes turned toward her. The weight of her words hung like a spell, a powerful truth igniting the room. The officers moved in, urgency melding with resolve. Step away! One shouted, grabbing her grandfather as the crowd surged behind him. The tension snapped, her grandfather's face twisting in disbelief, then fury. You think you can defy me? I am your blood. No, she shouted, fierce as the storm. I am more than your blood, I'm my own person. As the chaos unraveled, Iracema felt a surge of relief wash over her. She looked around at the faces, her mother's warm eyes, John's pained stare, David's fierce determination. They stood united around her, the shadows of the past retreating. Take him away, one officer commanded, tightening the cuffs around her grandfather's wrists as the crowd closed in. But in the aftermath, her gaze drifted to the lingering questions, the truths that still wound around her heart. What now? What lay ahead as the dust settled? With one last look at her grandfather, she felt a mix of sorrow and triumph. The dark web he had spun was unraveling, but only time would tell what her freedom truly meant. As the sirens blared and the lights flickered in the distance, a sense of hope flickered alongside the uncertainty. Someday she would uncover her identity and create her own destiny. But first, she had some urgent news to share. Now, before you move on from this epic tale, you must subscribe now to our channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Click the like button now to feed the algorithm. Your support makes a difference. Flood the comments section below with your reactions and theories about this wild ending. And don't wait another second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to know how it all wraps up. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel with these actions. Let's keep this journey alive together.